Titus Nichols is a former state prosecutor, now a professor at University of Georgia School of Law. I also want to have you listen quickly to one other soundbite from Mike Freeman, the attorney there, in terms of what he thought about the speed in which this man was charged. Watch.
This criminal action took place on Monday evening, May 25th, Memorial Day. I'm speaking to you at 1 o'clock on Friday, May 29th. That's less than 4 days. That's extraordinary. We have never charged a case in that kind of time frame, and we can only charge a case when we have sufficient admissible evidence.
Titus, what do you think of that point about the timing of this and how long it took them to do it?
I believe the prosecutor in this case is trying to make a point that compared to, say, the situation in Georgia with Ahmaud Arbery, where the prosecutors took over 2 months to charge the killers, he's showing the public how quickly his office is moving on bringing charges. Typically, when a person is accused of a crime, they're arrested, they're placed in confinement, and then it could take however long before the case is brought before a grand jury and formally indicted and charged.
What do you explain to us what third-degree murder and manslaughter means specifically in Minnesota?
Typically, a murder charge, when people think of the word murder, they think that you had to intentionally plan to kill or take away this person's life. In Minnesota, the way they've described the charge against this officer is they're not saying that he intentionally killed Mr. Floyd. What they're saying is that the actions that he took demonstrated a complete lack of care or was not concerned about the health or safety of this individual. And as a result of performing that action, it resulted in a person's death. It's essentially saying that what you did was dangerous. There was no other reason to perform that action, and because of it, it resulted in an innocent person's death.
Titus, our viewers here are watching scenes from Dallas, which it looks like a peaceful protest of people gathering, trying to have their voices heard, making their point. Of course, it's daylight now, and we know what could be coming in the evening, and we pray that it is calm tonight. One of the things I heard a few protesters who were interviewed by Fox News last night is, what would you like to see? And they said, we want the other 3 officers to be charged. What do you make of the fact that they have not been so far, and do you think that that could change?
It's my hope that it does change. When you have a situation in which multiple people are involved in someone's death, typically, you see everyone's arrested and charged, and then as the prosecutor goes to the case, they determine what charge to reduce or to drop certain charges. But here, because they're law enforcement officers, the prosecutor is taking more time than you would normally expect. However, just looking at the video, it's clear that all 4 officers observed what took place. All 4 officers had the opportunity to intervene, to stop, but they failed to. Therefore, they are all equally responsible for the death of George Floyd.
I wanted to also maybe ask you one last question about the federal government having the Justice Department at the president's direction and the Attorney General's direction expediting a review, checking to see if there was a violation of civil rights in this case. But the state prosecutor right now is in the lead. But the Justice Department in this role, do you think that is just a backup for just in case justice is not received there in Minnesota?
Under the law, both the state and the federal law enforcement prosecution offices can bring charges against an individual just for different charges. Here, you see the state prosecutor moving quickly because, as we've seen in other cases, when law enforcement delays or drags their feet, it just denies justice to the family of the victim. Here, the federal government's looking into the charges. Now, we don't know for certain if the Trump administration is actually going to take the necessary step and actually bring charges against law enforcement. One problem that we have seen in this administration is that they have taken a different path than the Obama administration did in regards to overseeing law enforcement and ensuring that they are looking to protect and serve the community, as opposed to allowing, where here the lead officer had over 18 complaints in his history. That's something that should have been dealt with long before it got to this situation.
All right. Well, we will keep an eye on that. And the Attorney General apparently seen today leaving the Justice Department to go to the FBI, as he says that it is an expedited investigation. Titus Nichols, wonderful to have you on the program. Thanks for your expertise.